I'm not watching Coach.
You're watching Coach.
I'm not watching Coach.
You are watching all of it, and by the time you get to it, the North
Can I just
Saga
watch
is
the
gonna be
sagas
done.
instead,
No,
please?
That's even longer. You are watching Coach. You're watching the sagas. You're looking at a good 24 hours of content. Oh, I just dropped a 30-minute episode last week. You know what? I think this week might be 45, just because. And half of it's just gonna be me staring in a mirror and then just going art, and then it's gonna cut to black.
I'm gonna cut to black.
Oh, baby. We here.
Meow. We steer
Off the road.
Yeah.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. And say it with me, baby. This is GPS. Boom. I'm so freaking fracking happy, man. And by the way, Cousin Eddie went up Fetty for the kitty. Listen, exactly. They took the script right out of the Titans playbook, and the Jaguars were like, hold my beer. I got you.
Yeah. The worst thing you can be in the AFC South is a winning team early in the season.
And now, we here. I got you. Cousin
Buckle
Eddie.
up. We're going to have some fun.
We're going to have some fun today. Appreciate you, Cousin Eddie. Thank you. Folks, welcome. It's Monday. It's crazy times in the NFL. Coaches are being fired. The Falcons literally waited 1 minute, 12:01 into Monday. They have already fired Arthur Smith. You have the GM from the Panthers. Federer is going to get fired. He's already got fired as well. Then on top of that, Ron Rivera let go this morning, and they might be hiring Ted Lasso. There is a lot going on in the NFL right now. The playoffs are set. It's locked in. The Steelers have made it. The Packers have made it. The Bills are the 2 seed. And now Perna, because the Packers had a better record, has to watch Coach. It's a great day.
So funny. I talked about this with Will last night and during the stream. But Denver and Green Bay, both 8-8 heading into that last game. And our lives are so much different before the game, during the game, and after the game. Thank you, Trav. Thank you, Trav. Arthur Smith is gone. I don't like that firing because I like Arthur Smith's face. I like his reactions, and I'm going to miss it. But, sometimes...
It's like buttholes, everybody has one.
That was awesome.
Everybody's got a butthole.
It's like buttholes. Buttholes.
I'll say this about the Falcons. They gave Arthur Smith 3 full seasons. And I really feel like, hey, if the Falcons won that last game, he might still have a job. But he didn't.
Yeah.
And I think three is really unless like Josh McDaniels, the guy needs to be gone. 3 is kind of what you need to give a coach to be fair to them and for the runway they should be allowed. But yeah, I think the Falcons will upgrade their head coach and quarterback, and they should have a very good team. And they're picking at 8 again. I saw a stat. It was the Falcons have finished with the exact same record all 3 of those seasons with Arthur Smith and drafted exactly at spot 8 with him. So,
yeah. I mean, because they were 7-10 the entire time. It was just consistency. Right?
He's good at doing exactly that. It's like the fucking Jeff Fisher, He's like the Jeff Fisher, but of just having that losing record instead of,
So just a little bit more. Yeah, it was a crazy weekend. Shout out to the frickin' Houston Strouds. Texans won the division because the Jaguars lost.
Yeah. I mean, they won the division. It wasn't like it was like they won, and then the division was handed to them.
Yeah, they earned it. I'm so excited for them. Like that's just like talk about teams that are feeling good. I think like the Texans are in that row. The Packers are 100% in there of it's house money. And like there's already been people that are like, oh, I'm going to get bounced in the first round. All right. Okay.
Oh, poor
oh
you.
no, the youngest team in the NFL. Oh, they made it to the playoff. Bro, I am set. I am set. And the Texans, it's like everything is up. And even the Colts, because listen, the Colts lost in heartbreaking fashion on Saturday night. But talk about teams that have such a high ceiling going forward. I cannot wait for Anthony Richardson to be back. Steichen get a second year there. Jonathan Taylor's back there and is healthy. Like the Colts are going to be so much fun. And the AFC South is going to be a really interesting division next year. We'll see what the Jaguars do. The Titans, I don't know what the heck they're going to do. But at least 3 of those teams, it's going to be a battle. I cannot wait. It's going to be fun football.
3 of those teams could be good.
Mm-hmm.
The between the Texans, the Jags, and the Colts, like I really wanted Minshew in the playoffs for obvious reasons. And I think the Colts kind of just have one of those underrated teams. They're always in it. Their defense is pretty good. But like if you're talking about most interesting team to get into the playoffs, it's the Texans. Their quarterback's playing better than any of the quarterbacks in that division. CJ Stroud, he's just better than Trevor Lawrence. He's a lot better than Gardner Minshew. He made the throws in that game. That first touchdown to Nico Collins, you're just like, oh shit, Texans are going to win this game.
One play.
But you know, the Colts, like they did what the Colts do, and they had a chance to win it at the end.
Yep.
And then I want to talk about that final play there, but like the game was tied up, and then Stroud leads that ultimately game-winning drive. And the most insane play is Stroud buying time and then just throwing the ball, what we all thought was just a throwaway. And then here comes Nico Collins out of nowhere to catch it. I'm like, oh, God, this team's got something. He's got something. So as much as I was bummed for it to not be Minshew there, just because I don't think we'll ever get a chance to watch him in the playoffs. Like I was like, this would be the only chance. The Texans and Stroud are the better team. He's the better quarterback. And Texans Browns with Joe Flacco.
Dude.
Now that's a game I want to watch.
Yeah. And like this, even the storyline there. Oh my God, it'd been crazier if Watson was still starting. But like the Texans, like playing the Browns after they just traded Deshaun Watson. Dude, like it's, the Texans are going to want to win that game. And it's being played in Houston. Like, dude, the storylines are amazing. Tyreek Hill going back to Arrowhead. McCarthy and the Packers going again. I'm so glad they got the Sunday night slot. Sunday Night Football, Stafford going up against his old team, first ever playoff game at Ford Field, and Goff going against the Rams, because Goff is going to want to win.
Yeah, if the Lions get bounced by Stafford from the playoffs, though, that is such a Lions.
That will be a punch to the gut.
Fuck, dude. Like, I mean, is that one of those things, though, where if you're a Lions fan, you're like, well, at least it was Stafford. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna be executed, and it's like, let my friend, because
he's my buddy.
He's my buddy. He's got to kill me. I would rather be him. Or is that even worse? That it's your old hero coming back to bounce you from the postseason for the first time since he last led you there, and you got bounced in tragic fashion. Then,
Perna, listen, if I had to get executed, I would be honored to have you do for you to do it. As long as, you made it going out the worst way possible, right? And you're just playing on loop, rah, 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 and then just done.
Like when you finish it, I'm like, not done yet, Tom.
Yeah, I ain't done. I'm just like, oh my God, just please kill me. And you're just like, nope, we got 10 more hours. 10 more hours.
Rah, rah, rah.
Dude, yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Of course, all the games yesterday. We'll preview a little bit of the wild card. We'll talk about that more on Friday as well. But we will talk about the Denver Broncos. I'm sorry. Lost to the Raiders. Are you feeling like, hey, we got a better draft pick and like we rocking?
Not rocking, but yeah.
There's no rocking going on.
There's no rocking. We are not rocking at all. We're not close to rocking. We just live in a perpetual state of having foodborne illness. That's what it's like. Every offseason, it's the same bullshit.
Diarrhea again.
Yeah, it's because we're picking 12. It's like, oh God. So even if we're probably gonna have to move up in the draft to get a guy. I think Sean Payton will be aggressive. But I do think flopping spots with the Raiders was important because the Raiders do not have their quarterback of the future. So we will be in direct competition with the Raiders to get a QB.
Yes, that's accurate.
I thought you were shaking your finger at me. No, it's Joe
Is
Barry.
Joe Barry forgiven? No. Props to Joe Barry. He's played good defense. Like, it's called good defense for the past 2 weeks, but no, he's not forgiven.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for you, though, like, the Raiders, that's the thing. Do you see a world where you go and just sign a veteran QB? I know you've mentioned Kirk Cousins a lot.
No. I mean, Kirk Cousins would be the only guy, but we can't afford him. You can't pay Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson.
That's true.
Like, even if they're both starting for you, right? Like, you can't afford both those guys at the same time.
It's like, no, we can't do this.
And we will be paying Russ a lot.
I feel like the Raiders are maybe in a better spot to do that because Justin Fields, who seems like he kind of said, hey, just in case, like, this is goodbye. You know, did you see that post-game press conference when he was talking to the media? So, like,
no, but I saw, like, the posts of it, but I didn't watch it yet.
Fields basically came out and was just like, just in case, appreciate y'all. Made my job a little bit harder. Appreciate the people in Chicago. Like, it just seems like it might be the end. And Chicago has a lot to figure out. But Justin Fields has been tied to a bunch of teams now. The Raiders being one of them. The Falcons being one of them. And I'm curious.
Falcons would be interesting.
It would be, especially depending on who their new coach is going to be.
Because I put Russ to the Falcons. Russ has been linked to the Raiders too. I kind of want Russ to go to the Raiders at this point for the memes, but
it would be amazing.
I think Justin Fields, like, he had to take control of that game against the Packers and get a win for Chicago to be like, yeah, we're going to bring him back. He's our guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch that game, but, like, the Bears didn't win. Like,
no,
I think that made their decision a lot easier. And
I agree.
It's not an easy decision. It's not like Justin Fields did all of these horrible things to lose his job there. It's just more of the Bears are in a weird position where they can draft a guy who many think is like the best quarterback since Andrew Luck. Now that discussion fizzled a lot this year because, USC did. Their defense was horrible. But like, they can probably upgrade, or at least they can definitely get equal play at the QB position and pay a lot less, right? That's Bears.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. The issue is, and this is where I'm going to be, I did a video on this earlier. I did this video years ago when we were talking about Trubisky. And I mean this. And like, this is not coming from a place of like, haha, Bears at all. Legitimately, I do not trust the Bears organization to develop a quarterback because they haven't. The best quarterback that they've had in how long now was Jay Cutler, who they made a trade for.
You're welcome.
Mitch Trubisky, Justin, it doesn't matter. They keep on hiring the same people because the same people who are in charge of hiring are still there. And so I would have no faith as a Bears fan of like, oh yeah, let's go get Caleb Williams and he could sit behind that same offensive line that got Justin Fields sacked 5 times yesterday. And hopefully this is going to be good. Because it feels like last season, the Bears were like, okay, Justin Fields is our guy. We know this for a fact, right? We got DJ Moore because we traded away the first overall pick. We got a haul for that. We drafted offensive linemen. We got it. And then this year, week 1, sent them in a spiral. And then as the year went on, right, they went through their bumps and bruises, but the defense got better. And you saw, hey, maybe that's the Eberflus influence, right? Because he's a defensive guy. And the offense, you're like, okay, like maybe it's getting better. Justin Fields looking good, dominated the Falcons. But then they come in and they don't score a touchdown against Joe Barry. Bryce Young came in and torched the Packers defense.
Yeah.
And like for that to happen, I just don't know at what point you go, yeah, this is definitely going to be the guy now.
I think
while
maybe
Fields
maybe
not
they just go
perfect,
Drake
but
May. Maybe
maybe
go Drake May. Like,
true.
I mean, maybe you can trade from 1 to 2. Like, maybe Washington or the Patriots want Caleb Williams, right?
That's what I said. Yeah, just trade a haul to go to 2.
Just go to 2, take Drake May. He's probably better fit for what Getsy wants to do at offensive coordinator, right? Like, I don't know. You got to look at what the quarterback does well and how they fit into your scheme and your system and your weapons. But if they could get, I mean, it depends on what they get for that. Like, could you get May and another receiver? You need line help. You take the best tackle at 8 or 9 or 10 or wherever you're picking. Like, I don't know. They're in a good position, though. Do you trust them to develop a quarterback? You don't, but like, it's a different coaching staff and front office now, so maybe we'll see. Maybe.
Eduardo!
It's like, the Broncos are in the same spot where people are like, you're just gonna, you'll bring in another quarterback, he'll suck, or you'll draft a guy and he'll be a bust. I'm like, well, it's Sean Payton. It's a different dude. Does that guarantee that he's going to do the right thing and do the job well and develop a young quarterback? No, but I trust Sean Payton a hell of a lot more than I trusted if it were Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes.
If it were Vic Fangio, who just didn't. I think Vic Fangio wished he could play football without a fucking quarterback. Honestly, like I think
that. I don't doubt
like,
that.
do we like Fangio
need
running a coaching? Like, do we need quarterback guys? Do we need one? Can we just have an offensive line and a running back run it 86 times?
They have a fantasy draft, and he's always picking QB as like his last pick. He's like,
yeah, I can just win it with the defense if you let me.
Yeah, that's it.
Fangio with Pat Shurmur. No, it's like the last guy who was the answer for a quarterback was Kubiak.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in a position where they drafted Paxton Lynch, and he did not want him. He was the one guy who did not want Paxton Lynch, Gary Kubiak. And then he left for health reasons. So, we're like, it's just like the Bears. You can't keep having all that change and expect, like,
correct.
And I get it. The Patriots and their fans, I think they're going to be delusional and crazy for a while, but it might actually just be time for Bill to go somewhere else.
Sure.
And a change there might work. But if they get into this cycle of every 2 off seasons, you're with a new coach looking for a new quarterback, you're in purgatory. It's just, you're not getting out of it. And even the fucking Browns, who are in the playoffs right now, they're there because of Joe Flacco and their defense. Mm-hmm. Is their defense going to be that dominant next year? I don't know. Like 2015 Broncos tells me no. You get that one season, and you better have a quarterback who can lead your offense to the playoffs. And they just happen to have the guy who did it before Joe Flacco with a great Ravens defense, so maybe they luck into it. But they're going to have Watson after that, so it's we're in hell. We're in hell.
Well, you bring up the point too, right? Because like that was also the knock on Baker for a really long time, because it was like, look how many different coaches he had, over and over and over and over again. And listen, he wasn't perfect, but he had a pretty damn good season with the Buccaneers, and now they're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean, so there's something to be said about that consistency. And you look at the Patriots and how they were able to build that dynasty. Look at the consistency.
Yeah,
at QB, at head coach, they always had a great defense, right? Like that also helped them win all of those Super Bowls. So
if Belichick wants to keep coaching and they're sitting at, pick 3 in the draft right now, like their smartest move would be
keep him,
get him a quarterback. He's got a quarterback, and it's like find the right offensive coordinator for that quarterback. Maybe it is Bill O'Brien with a different guy. Like we saw Zappy liked him. I don't know, but like
Zappy, that was great in that locker room. That clip that went around where he's like, Bill O'Brien. Then Bill Belichick's like, thank you, sir.
Good. Sorry, sir.
I mean,
sorry for winning today, sir. I didn't win by enough points, sir.
The issue is with Belichick as the GM. The head coach, great. But as a GM, I don't think he's done a great job of building the team, especially on the offense side of all. Defense still has good defense, but the offense has just not been there. And you could look at Belichick and be like, you drafted these guys. So at the end of the day, like that falls on you. And that's why I could understand the logic of moving on from him. But at the same time, to your point and what we've been kind of echoing all season, if they have a chance to go get a legit quarterback, and I'm sorry, not Mac Jones in the teens or anything like that. Like a guy who has like that prospect. I'm not saying that they're going to do well because first round picks screw up all the time. I don't know. I just feel like you maybe give him a shot, like one more shot.
I hope he goes to Washington, though. I hope he leaves.
Mm.
I hope Patriots fans see that he leaves. And maybe it works out for him, but like, he goes to Washington. He gets the quarterback the Patriots want. Maybe that's Drake May at 2. And then he goes to the NFC. So it's different, completely different setup for him. In that division with the Cowboys and the Eagles and the Giants, I just kind of love that. My personal hell would be he goes to the Chargers with Justy Herbie, and then Russell Wilson goes to the Raiders, and we're just in a weird AFC West moving forward.
Play against Mahomes every 2 days.
Got Mahomes and Reed twice a year. Got Belichick and Herbert. We'll just say Antonio Pearson, Russell Wilson for the Raiders. I don't think that makes them great, but like, it feels like they'll just keep their streak against the Broncos going because for whatever reason, Russ just plays like vintage Russ against the Broncos. Although we saw him against the Seahawks last year, he kind of, against his former lovers, not as strong as he should be. But it's going to be interesting. Let's talk about the collapses, though, because the Jaguars losing. Oh, the Eagles backing into the playoffs so hard, 1-5. In the last, 6 weeks, no team has hit the playoffs 1-5, and then one. Jalen Hurts, his fingers all effed up. Dan Campbell maybe injures LaPorta, might not have LaPorta.
That sucked.
Like,
I gotta give Eduardo this clip. He's been waiting.
Go for it. Sorry.
That was like go pack.
Go pack. I'll take go pack. Go pack.
Go pack.
Sorry, continue. Want to make sure I got Eduardo.
Yeah. Where do you want to? Let's see here.
Let's talk about the Jaguars.
Dolphins collapse.
Sorry,
Jags collapse. Lions make a boneheaded thing. Eagles collapse. There's some teams. There's some really good, fun teams heading in. But fuck, I don't feel good about the Eagles. I don't feel good about the Dolphins. Injuries. We started to compare Dan Campbell to Brandon Staley this year. Go for it on all the fourth downs. And now in a game, like the difference between the 3 and 4 seed for the Lions are the 2 and 3 seed. I'm sorry. The 2 and 3 seed. It's not worth losing Sam LaPorta, man. It's not. Unless your tackles are eligible every play.
Well, that's the thing too. The problem is that it's like that risk because Dan Campbell came out and we were like, oh yeah, they're gonna beat up the Vikings because he came out and he's like, nope, everybody's playing, what have you. And even the commentators before LaPorta got injured was like, listen, it's that mentality of if you just put them in these pressure situations over and over and over again, when they get to a real pressure situation in the postseason, they'll be ready because they've been doing it all year, which there is some logic to that. However, there is a significant risk to that, and you saw it play out, unfortunately, on Sunday.
I think we can blame the refs because they should have won that Cowboys game. But we can also blame Dan Campbell there too.
Sure.
Like if they just tie that game in overtime, maybe they do have the 2 seed, right? And I think it's what bothers me about Dan Campbell, and I love him. Like I fucking love everything about Dan Campbell. I think he has a problem though of adapting. Like you've taken on this mentality of we're going to do it this way. We say we're going to do it this way, and then we're going to execute no matter what, right? Just like the 2-point play. He's like, no, said we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
That it has to be this.
In that situation, after you don't get it, after you're backed up, that's when I think really good head coaches adapt to the situation and be like, okay, let's just take those points there. Let's tie it up. Let's give ourselves a better opportunity to win. Same approach this final game. And I think there's something to be said for going out there and getting your ones, the reps. Have them play that first quarter and a half, because I think that does carry into the next week. We saw Peyton Manning's Colts seal up the AFC South like week 7 and they're resting their starters for, a half a month, and then they have the bye, and then they go out and they look flat. Like, I get that part of it, but when you lose the best rookie tight end of the year, arguably top 3 tight end, when your defense is not great, like, you're going to need to score points to keep up with any of these teams in the postseason. I don't like it. And if we're going to crucify Brandon Staley for it last year when they lost Mike Williams, I think Dan Campbell deserves, the scrutiny there. That said, who do they play? They play all the shit. And they get the Rams?
Yeah, they're playing the Rams. It's Stafford.
Yeah, right. Duh. Like, I don't like that matchup for the Lions either.
It was either that or the Packers, so.
I would have taken the Packers. No offense.
No, it's all good. But now they're going to be down.
Neither of those situations are great for the Lions, really.
Yeah. You got a fitty, by the way, Perna.
Oh, Nick. I almost thought that said Nick Bosa.
He's a big fan of the show.
Yeah.
Big fan. I got you.
Hey.
But now, like, if the Lions win, if they, if we don't even know the extent of LaPorta's injury yet, and it happens, right? TJ Watt tears his MCL, but like, the Steelers had to have TJ Watt out there to win.
Yes.
And I would argue he's more important to the Steelers' success moving forward in this postseason than LaPorta is, but,
You know what's really interesting? Because the Steelers did beat the Ravens in an ugly game. But that's
they
AFC
got
North
lucky
football.
for weather.
Which, by the way, like, the Steelers' record against the AFC North is insane. Like, it is nuts. And this is why the Ravens shouldn't be afraid of anybody in the playoffs unless it's the Browns or the Steelers. And I'm putting them both in there because that's they're like, we don't want to play either of them. Nope. Yep. We'll play any other team. We'll play the Dolphins. We'll play the Chiefs. We'll play whatever. Just not the AFC North. Because if you get either one of those teams, it's like, oh, crap, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a game.
The Steelers are just like Mason Rudolph, only 2 incompletions in that game. Yeah. And one was that 71-yard touchdown to Deontay Johnson. Shitty conditions. Like, nobody's lighting it up through the air in that game. I don't care who the quarterback is, but only 2 misfires all game. They lean on Najee Harris. Like, their run game came along perfectly at the right time for that game.
So Kenny Pickett, right? Like, didn't play. I'm assuming they're going to roll with Rudolph continuing because you just have to play the hot hand, in my opinion. Yeah. And people are like, well, what about Kenny Pickett? They can compete for it in camp. I mean, so for the Steelers, they're in an interesting situation because, of course, like, Steelers fans would be happy they're in the playoffs because Steelers got a Super Bowl, of course. But there also is like that level of like, oh, crap. I think Coleman said this too, and a bunch of Steelers fans yesterday were saying this. They're worried about, okay, you made the playoffs, but now you're not going to make any changes. And now it's like that complacency. Mike Tomlin, we were talking about him potentially being on the hot seat and all that stuff, is that this team is like, yep, they're always above 500. They don't have a losing record. Sometimes they go into the wild card. When they go in the wild card, sometimes they get their ass kicked. Yeah. And then they just kind of do the same thing over and over again.
Kirk Cousins to the Steelers.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh. Trade Kenny Pickett to someone.
To the Bears.
Yeah. You got Mason Rudolph and Kirk Cousins.
I think it's the North still.
I mean, Kirk Cousins, Pittsburgh, like, ooh, I like that, actually.
First time since the 30s, was it, that all the teams have a winning record? That's pretty nuts. Like, that's the AFC North.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it's their crown until they want to let it go. It's pretty nuts. So, talking about other collapses, though, I want to talk about the Eagles. Because the Eagles, as I told you, too, I picked the Eagles to win, and then I was recording predictions, and I talked myself out of it and switched to the Giants. And I'm glad I did, because the Eagles, they just look so flat. So flat. And, Jalen Hurts messed up his finger. And now, like, Monday night against Tampa on the road, that's not a gimme. Like, I think that's going to be an ugly, ugly game. And it's Monday night, which is not going to be a great game. But the one piece of optimism is that it's a whole new season. I think if they were to play anybody in the opening round, the Buccaneers, they got a shot.
Yeah, by losing, they actually did themselves a favor
Got a
by
shot.
getting Tampa. And I would be I'd be higher on Tampa Bay if they played better against the Panthers this last week.
Oh, my God, it was ugly, yeah.
But Tom, is the secret to getting into the playoffs making the Panthers look good? Like barely beating them? The Packers did it. They're in.
We did it.
Buccaneers did it. They're in.
Like,
But yeah, the Eagles, they got basically the most favorable matchup, in my opinion, they could have received by losing that game. If they had to play, the Lions, the Cowboys, or the Rams, or the Packers, and I'm not saying all those, like, Packers play them, I'm picking the Packers. Rams playing, I'm picking the Rams. Lions, taking the Lions. Cowboys, taking the Cowboys. The one team would be like, you got a chance. Tampa. That said, I feel like Baker Mayfield going to give us a great one playoff game, just like he did to the Browns. And the Eagles going to go home crying.
Ooh.
Jaden Daniels is, like, to me, the big mystery quarterback there, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tigo. That's a great question.
But yes.
Woo!
I'll give up the whole fucking defense for a quarterback at this point, Tom. Like, you want every player
Even
on our
Bonito?
defense?
Come on, don't give up the Bonito. Come on.
All of them gone. Don't care. And I love him. I love
The
Justin
opposite
Simmons.
of Vic Fangio.
I love Alex Singleton. I love Patty Surtain, Jaquan McMillian. Okay? I love all these guys. But they mean nothing to me compared to a quarterback. You know what I mean? Fucking Alex Singleton, too, sets the record for, like, most most games with 10 plus tackles in a season, Tom. And I don't even know what the bill is yet, but I donated to his charity per tackle this season.
And you're still like,
I missed the play. If we got in the playoffs, I'd feel real good about it. Had another 10 plus tackle game to finish it off. It's going to a good cause, but, like, yeah, I'll trade anybody for a quarterback. I would have before Justin Fields didn't play great yesterday. Like, he was fine, not great. I was just thinking about how the Broncos would be in such a better situation had they drafted Justin Fields and not Pat Surtain back in whatever year.
That
easier to move on. You wouldn't have given up everything for Russ. You'd have been in a better spot. But Jaden Daniels, to me, like, how good is Jaden Daniels? I don't really know. I know he's got the skills. Got a lot of open receivers to throw to as well last season.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I'll learn more about quarterbacks soon.
I mean, to the Chargers. I don't know, man. Like, just heading back to the Eagles real quick. It's a whole new season, like we were talking about, and they're 3 games away from going to the Super Bowl. Do they look horrible? Yes. Do they give me any confidence? No. But it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. They got a week to figure it out. And now it's just like every single game, what have you. So I think at the end of the day, like, Eagles fans, I know it's tough. And I think once the season is over, unless it ends in, like, a somewhat deep playoff run, there's going to be some significant changes, especially with coordinators. I don't think Sirianni's going to go. No. I don't think so. I mean, there's rumors like, oh, he lost the team and that. But I think they're going to pin it on the coordinators first before, they look at Sirianni, and then they kind of take it from there.
Yeah, well, that was the big change in the offseason. They lost both their coordinators. They're good. Like, we were talking about Shane Steichen, possible coach of the year.
Yep.
Then they lost, and now he's being criticized for the Colts' final play.
Well, see, I disagree with that. I disagree with that completely. So if you went, because we didn't really even get into that final play. That play call is phenomenal. The play call worked. Like, the play call was great because they all came in. They were trying to stop the run. Goodson was wide open. Jonathan Taylor's banged up, and, like, it's not the best thrown ball for Minshew. It hits Goodson in the hands, and he should catch it.
No, I think it's like I put like 40% on Minshew. Well, no, I'll go 30%, 35% on Minshew.
35, there you go.
35% on Goodson, and 30% on Steichen. I think the one flaw there is, and they talked about like they practiced that play like all week. You know, it was a play. I think you got to do one or two things if you're Steichen and you've got that play dialed up for a situation like that. One, you got to get Goodson some reps in that game. Get him throw him the ball a couple times so he feels a little like comfortable doing it, right? And then two, I don't like taking your best offensive player out of the game when you need to make that play.
I get it.
Jonathan Taylor had 180 rushing yards in that game, and you take him out on the most important play of the game. I just to me, I think you outcoached yourself there. Obviously, though, yes, like Minshew got to throw a little bit better of a ball.
Yeah.
Goodson has to make a good catch, and those things didn't happen. Probably for the better ultimately, but fuck, everything went wrong right there. The play call is fine.
Play call is great.
Personnel you can question, and it's not even a knock on Goodson, but he didn't have any receptions in that game. Going in cold.
Former Green Bay Packer, by the way.
Yeah, just I think it's tough. It's tough.
Michigan. I don't know. I don't watch college football.
There's that, and then you had Trevor Lawrence, and the same thing happened to the Jags. They pick off Ryan Tannehill, Jacksonville. They return the ball into the red zone. And then you have them, they can't score. And then they go for it on fourth down and don't get it. It's maybe take 3 points there. Take the 3 freaking points. Because then if you score a touchdown, game over. And then Lawrence can't connect with Ridley deep. Would have had a touchdown and would have won the game. So both the Jags and the Colts, this close, but you didn't get it.
I mean, the Colts have a lot to be excited about. Because this year, Alec Pierce, that week 1, it was horrible. I was all right, well, Pierce isn't working out. He came along pretty well. Yeah. Michael Pittman Jr. Emerged as their guy, which they've been waiting for. So he did. Anthony Richardson, I know very limited in play, but looked good against the Rams.
Be better with him.
I think Jonathan Taylor gets extended. There's a lot to be excited for about if you're a Colts fan. It's just this ending sucks. That's what it is. So they'll get a backup guy, and we'll see, but not a day one guy.
The Colts overachieved, and they're in the luxurious position of they have a quarterback everybody's excited to watch next year. Obviously, the question mark is will he be able to stay healthy next year? It was the season-ending injury, but there was a concussion before that. It was he got banged up pretty much every game he played. So if you're a Colts fan, that's kind of the only thing you're worried about. Anthony Richardson with Shane Steichen, I love it. I think they're going to be – that offense is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Assuming he can stay healthy. So
let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, Brandon, because that's the collapse that we're going to talk about.
So mad about.
That team, the amount of hype. We were talking about Trevor Lawrence as being potential MVP. Did you pick him as MVP? Might have.
Before the season, yeah. I think
before the season. We were talking about them like that. And Calvin, dude, the hype behind Calvin Ridley, he was just running him. He ran one route in practice and people were like, Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, first game you look good though, too.
Yeah. And then just the offense, because I did this all year for 18 weeks. I was like, all right, well, the offense, they'll catch up. They'll catch up because the defense held it down for a while. Trevor Lawrence got banged up all year.
Yeah, he was banged up in this game.
And it all collapsed on them. And I feel even if they won the division and went to the playoffs, there was a good shot that they were getting knocked out the first round. I'm not saying that makes it better, but I think there are things to fix in Jacksonville. And I think you got to get healthy, is going to be the number one thing. But what is your take on what the hell happened to them? Because we talked about the Titans last year. They lost 7 straight. They wind up losing, and now the Jaguars didn't lose 7 straight, but they had there was a stat out there. People were commenting a whole lot yesterday about they had a 95% chance to make the postseason. They had a 5% chance last year and they made it last year, but then they didn't make it this year. Do you look at coaching? Do you look at people are looking at Trevor Lawrence? And I was like,
yeah,
that's
you got to start with Trevor Lawrence. He's got to be better. And we see him do some very impressive things at times. He's got all the tools. He turns the ball over too much. He was playing hurt, which I think that's always hard to assess.
Yeah.
He fumbles. Fumbles a lot. He fumbles a lot and throws a little too many interceptions, and then all that shit kind of stacks up. And when the Jags had a chance to win it, it's like your best player is probably Travis Etienne. Why the fuck are you not giving him the ball? So they put a little bit on coaching. Like, use your best players when the game is on the line.
Yeah. I get
Travis, here you go. You're really good at breaking tackles. When we're so close to the goal line, though, I won't even think about that shit. But, I think we'll see. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, year 3 together. Then you kind of know what to do. But, yeah, where Lawrence was drafted versus how he's performing, under the bar. And I think like the way the Jags came back to beat the Chargers last year in the playoffs, we're like, that's Trevor Lawrence, that's this team. But the reason they had to come back was Trevor Lawrence threw 3 interceptions. So I think he's both those guys.
It's fair.
But he doesn't make enough cool plays like Josh Allen where you're like, he's the dude. We'll live with those turnovers. So
I get you. Yeah. Yeah, it's just disappointing, man. Chris Perna, for the kitty. Yeah, I was telling Perna, I've been 15-1 in pick'ems this week. The game I got wrong, the freaking Jaguars.
Yeah.
The freaking Jaguars. So it sounds like Chris forgot some bread.
Yeah, pretty much everybody eats bread.
Everybody does. Appreciate you, Christopher. I mean, if you're the Jaguars, like, what do you look at now? Like, is it just, all right, like, let's just try and, like, fix our offense a little bit more? Because the
I think
defense, for the
offensive
most
line
part,
help will go a long way for
yes,
Jacksonville.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Build those trenches. Obviously, like they've got the weapons, but they would have to bring Ridley back. You got Ingram there. I'd have to look at what their free agency situation is, but just build the trench. Their defense is opportunistic and good.
Yeah.
Like Josh Allen on their defense.
Solid.
Does he have 17 sacks? Did he get any more in that game? Like, that's an incredible season.
Yeah.
I've got pieces, man. But,
Mm-hmm.
just didn't. I'm watching Trevor Lawrence throw a horrible pick right now on NFL Network. That throw was stupid. And then Tannehill gifts you guys the game. Cisco, you should have scored, Cisco. You should have done everything to score. When he didn't score, I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. Offense got to go out there. I'm watching the series right now. Oh.
Just watching it in
real time. That was actually the touchdown to okay, that was the good play. Here's Tannehill giving him the game back.
Yes.
Somebody said Tannehill to the Broncos yesterday. I said I would vomit if that happened. I would vomit if Ryan Tannehill is the Broncos quarterback. No offense to Tannehill.
I do want to talk about the Titans real quick, though. Derrick Henry kind of saying goodbye to Tennessee. Yeah, that's awesome. But Derrick Henry's just such a special player, man. Like, I hope he gets an opportunity to play somewhere if he wants to. And the Titans, like, we were talking about the AFC South. They're kind of the odd team out right now because they're going to have a lot of figuring out to do. They got Hopkins, and there was a lot of excitement about that. And then Tannehill just didn't look good. Will Levis, for like a hot few minutes, was like, oh, all right, this could be the guy. I really hope they keep Vrabel because I think it would be a mistake to let him go.
Yeah, he's a good head coach.
And yes, he would.
We didn't expect much from the Titans this year, and they gave us exactly what we expected. 6 wins, I think. Dude, I mean, I'm curious to see like if Derrick Henry goes somewhere else, what's his production?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Like, because he still got some of it. It's just not
as consistent.
Derrick Henry, some of it.
Yeah. I will say, though, real quick, Spears can be that guy. Like, he looks like the Titans in the limited play that he has gotten. He had a big play, too, yesterday. He can, like, I've watched him play, and I'm like, yeah, they may have found, like, someone special in Spears. Like, I'm excited to see him, actually improve and get, like, RB1 reps.
Watch Derrick Henry go to, like, the 49ers.
Just
and you got Christian McCaffrey, and then when he needs a break, they're just putting in Derrick Henry.
Boom! He's a third down back, and he's like, all right, I'll go get you these 2 yards. I got you.
One of my
gotcha.
best accidental predictions was like, it was a video from a couple years ago about like every team's their like biggest mistakes, some shit like that.
Sure.
I was like, could you imagine Christian McCaffrey on the 49ers offense with Kyle Shanahan? And every now and then a comment just pops up. It's like, holy shit, this is so funny in retrospect, right? I was like, so maybe Henry 49ers. Could you imagine him on that offense? Seal it.
That's a great point. And that is part of the problem too. Because like because Eberflus, his name has been out there all season. Right? I was just like, he's not the guy. He's not good. These past couple weeks are like, oh, maybe he saved his job. And then after yesterday, I don't think he necessarily has. But if you go and get a Caleb Williams as a last-ditch effort, that hasn't worked. It's a fantastic point because you're basically setting him up. And then, okay, if you go get Caleb Williams, he has 1 year, Eberflus is fired, and then we're starting all over again. And there's
I was thinking about that earlier in the show, too. It's like, how much do the Bears believe in Eberflus?
It doesn't look like a lot.
We've in like those quarterback bust videos I've done. I'm like, one of the through lines for quarterbacks not succeeding is their head coach is getting fired after year one. Like, but if you believe in Eberflus and Getsy, and they're like, look, if they're the guys telling you we think we can be more successful with this quarterback, then do it. Just don't fire Eberflus after next season either.
Yes, I agree. But that's not what it's going to be, right? Because we are in a very reactive league, and the head coach is the person who gets the brunt of it every single time. Like, that's why, like, even Joe Barry coming out and saying this too, he's just like, it's part of the job. Like, that is, if you are a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator or, you know, a head coach, if you're either the defense, offense, or the team is struggling, you are the first line of defense from the media, the fans, etc. And because that's just what the job is. Because unless there's a player that you can point to and be like, garbage, like they are legitimately bad, then they're going to be the first one to go. Yeah. And like, that's good and bad because sometimes it is that. But even we talked about this last week. Look at Brian Daboll, dude. Like Daboll, we were talking about 2 weeks ago. Giants fans like, get him out. Get him out. Yeah. And he was coach of the year.
Yeah. I couldn't disagree with the comment more, Royce. No offense. One, LaPorta doesn't need the reps. He set the record for receptions by a rookie in a season. He's ready. He's ready to go. Dude was ready to go week one before he had a lot of reps.
True.
Playing scared. I don't think making sure your players are healthy is playing scared. Anybody complain about the Ravens not playing their players? 49ers resting some dudes? Like, I think after LaPorta caught that touchdown, he's good. Let's go. Let's get him out of here. Khalif Raymond got hurt in that game. And I think Khalif Raymond's a guy you would have kept playing anyway. But Khalif Raymond's meant a lot to their return game and that X-factor receiver. And if he can't go, I think that's another big blow to the Lions. And I don't know if you could have avoided the Khalif Raymond injury because, like, if you're taking a guy out to get rest, it's Amon-Ra. You know what I mean? But, like, I think playing scared is like just it's a bullshit answer. Well, you go out there. I think I was listening to Edelman and Gronk talk about this with the Patriots, where they would play the first quarter of their starters in those meaningless games and then get out of there. Kept them fresh, got the rhythm a little bit. So I don't think you need to keep playing the full game. Also, if you really want to be concerned about something, it's the Lions defense letting the Vikings kind of get back in that game a little bit.
Yeah, I would be like this.
But that said, like if the Lions just like, I'm not rooting against Detroit. I want them to fucking win. I want them to win without LaPorta. I want to be saying, you know what? In 4 weeks, I was wrong. Dan Campbell's attitude, his mentality is right. It persevered through the postseason. That's what I hope for the Lions.
It's gonna be a tough game. Like it's good. It's good, dude.
I think the Cowboys are really good, but like if you guys upset him.
Well, that's my mentality, dude. The Packers, you know what they have to lose?
Nothing.
0. Nothing. The Cowboys, as the number 2 seed, undefeated at home,
Yeah.
If they lose to the 7 seed Packers,
dude, all you have to, it's not even about whether or not you guys win or lose that game. All I am curious to watch is, now that we've confirmed Jordan Love is good, I want to watch Jordan Love against that defense.
Yeah.
How does he answer in a big moment against a very talented defense that can get at you a multitude of ways? And even if the Packers lose, but they lose in a shootout because Love's dealing against Cowboys defense, like Micah Parsons in his face, he's got answers for him, then that's going to be pretty fucking interesting for the Packers moving forward.
Listen, I don't want to make these comparisons, but I'm gonna. 2009, a young gunslinger named Aaron Rodgers and Kurt Warner dueled it out in a wild card round where Kurt Warner had more touchdowns than incompletions, and they lost after a no face mask call and a fumble. And you're like, oh, this team is special. And then they won the Super Bowl the following year. So like there's like a lot of Packers fans are like, we could make that run, what have you. And listen, it's anybody's game. The defense is not as opportunistic as it was in that Super Bowl run, and I think that's going to hold them back. But yeah, like you said, if we could be super competitive with the Cowboys, I mean, we sucked last year and we beat them.
The only way you guys lose that game is if Jordan Love decides to retire. He's like, you know what? Football ain't for me. I got to the postseason. This game was super important, and I just don't fucking like it, guys. Just ugh.
Just no, thank you.
Or he's like, you know what? I want to go play for Mike McCarthy. Actually, I want to back up Dak.
Oh, wait a minute. Curse wheel. Is that going to be there for the playoffs?
Oh, of course.
All right. Are the Oh God, are you going to put the Packers in the top 10? Please don't put them in the top 10.
I don't know.
Put them at 11. Put them at
they'll
11,
be ahead
please.
of the Bucks. They'll be ahead of the Dolphins, maybe.
Fine.
Yeah.
Eagles.
Ooh, they're going to be at 11 or 10
11.
or 9.
11. No, 11's great. 11 is
I might put them at 1 just to see.
Why, Brandon? Why? Just please don't put them at like 6 or 7 where it's always landing because your wheel is broken.
Oh, actually, Ravens and 49ers are on a bye, so they won't even be in the first one.
Brandon, no.
You're going to be
No. They count, Brandon. They count. You got to put...
You already survived, man. We did a whole Jordan Love video, and he played well, so. Tommy DeVito killed him. Jake Browning killed him.
No. I don't want to wait. I don't.
I'll put him at 11, but then I'll just change 10 to 11 on the board.
Not in Brandon Perna's eyes. That graphic of Gardner Minshew giving the pose was like the greatest thing ever. Perna, I think you have to do an ad read.
What?
We're 52 minutes in.
Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. It's a late read for the ad, but we got 9,300 people watching GPS, and my team's not even in the playoffs. But check it out. Underdog supports this show. It supported us all season long. All right. So if you want to play pick'em games, fantasy football in the NFL postseason, do it at Underdog because they have taken care of us all year long. There's a link in the description. If you use our code GPS when you sign up, they'll match your first deposit up to $100.
We did like it was a lot larger.
Yeah, well, we did. There were bigger offers, which we notified you throughout the year. And they said they were going back to 100. You didn't believe me. Said, liar, Perna, they're going to keep it at 500 forever. Wrong. Take advantage of the offers when we tell you. I, of course, did not hit my pick'ems. You know my philosophy about like taking higher. Like if you go higher on your pick'ems, you're going to be in it for most of the game. Versus a lower stat or fantasy total, you can get bounced right away. Like if a dude just breaks it. Well, I made the mistake of I picked higher on Godwin, and it was the only early game. The rest were afternoon games, and I threw Godwin in there for higher because it was low. It was like 9 points. He can get that. Bucks got to win. They're playing the Panthers. Didn't hit. So then all my other higher picks for the afternoon, irrelevant. So I'm not saying it's a strategy, but if you want to keep your hopes up for the longest amount of time in underdog, make sure all your games are in the same time slots or, space them out accordingly. I'll be doing some drafts this week. And, we like underdog. They take care of us.
Tim, I appreciate the hell out of you. Woo! Great for the kitty. I mean, that could be either one. Yeah. Are you talking about OAR, Friends of Animals, Sunshine Kids Foundation, St. Jude? We raise money for all of them. They're all great organizations. So I take either one. Hell yeah.
Let's ride.
That's right.
All right. I love you.
Hell yeah, I love you.
It's like one of the
So much bigger already.
I know. It's just we're just watching her grow up in front of our eyes. It is a beautiful thing.
I just want a cloner. I want 2 Carmies.
I mean, there's this thing called pregnancy where it's not clone.
I want a clone.
You take
and I want her to be the
you-
same age.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
Don't want to go through the infant thing again.
Babies are hard, man. That first year. Whew.
So
They have boarding school for babies, and I can just get the baby back after a year and a half.
Year and a half. Yeah, is Jess gonna be cool with that?
Yeah.
Year and a half. That's what you have, like, uncles and aunts and things like that for. Just like, here you go.
Yeah. No, Jess's mom's here. She'll help us.
Exactly. There you go. I don't know if they're gonna draft one. I still think that they might get a vet.
No, I think, well, it depends. I mean, now they got less of a chance when the Broncos steal their guy, but Bo Nix, Michael Penix, those are the 2 realistic options where the Broncos will be.
Penix.
Those are your options as well.
Real quick.
This is my fear, though.
Nope.
We control our destiny, the Broncos. Say it comes down to Penix and Nix. I like both of them. People say Nix fit for Peyton. I like Penix. But my fear is the Broncos will take the guy, and then whoever the Raiders take will be the better quarterback, and I will have to live with that forever.
I think you would actually be more upset if Penix goes to the Raiders, just because you're like, the meme opportunities going to Vegas. Oh, that's gonna suck.
Give me Penix,
That would
baby.
suck.
Dude, if we can just take Penix at 12, that's the best scenario for the Broncos.
If he lasts that long.
That's what
I
she
do.
said. Can your Penix last that long?
I know. I was waiting for it. Got him. If I do want to talk about, because it is also Black Monday on the NFL, where you're going to see a lot of coaches get fired. And we already saw Arthur Smith, Ron Rivera is gone. I do want to talk about Arthur Smith, because you saw what happened at the end of the game. And then did you see the post game with Jameis Winston?
Yes.
I love Jameis Winston, because he's just like, he's fun to watch. And listen, he is legitimately, like, he could be the worst quarterback or the greatest quarterback. And there's usually no in between. But for him to go, it was a team decision. And if, of course, you're out of the loop. Basically, the Saints got the ball, and Dennis Allen, the head coach, goes victory formation, right? Kneel it. Let's get on out of here.
1 yard line after a Tyrann Mathieu pick, right?
41-17. They were already up. And Winston and the team made a decision to score a touchdown and make it 48-17.
Yeah.
And so people will look at, that's running up the score. Personally, and I've always felt this way, there's no such thing. I say you keep your foot on the gas. I don't care if you're winning 70-20. Sorry. Like, you just keep on going, because you're all professionals. You're all getting paid. You're all doing it. Go out there and play football. Defense is part of it too. So after the game,
but the caveat there is, and I agree with that, but when you line up to kneel the ball down, that's assumed you are not trying to score. If they lined up in a normal formation and said, we're going to score here, then
the
it's
defense
up
would have
to
adjusted.
that the team does. Like, the defense was not expecting them to do it. It doesn't ultimately matter. It's like, who gives a shit? But if you're talking about the unwritten rules, the sportsmanship, when you line up in that formation, you're saying, we give up. We're going to just end this game. That's probably why Arthur Smith was pissed. I think Dennis Allen was trying to explain to him, like, no, it wasn't my choice.
me. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But so Arthur Smith, and here's the thing. I think it's also great because it's the Saints and the Falcons, because they effing hate each other.
Yes.
Like, they hate each other. And you know the Falcons are going to remember that one and go, all right, if we are ever in this position again, right there, buddy, we're going right back at you, which is great for the rivalry. Like, I'm sorry. I love that. It's just like, absolutely. I wish the Packers scored more. But Arthur Smith is furious after that game.
Yeah.
Like, he comes marching. He's like, what the F was that? Like, he was pissed.
Am I the only person who likes Arthur Smith?
You might be, yeah. At least Falcons fans, yeah, definitely not. But
I'm not saying I think he's a great coach, but I like him.
yeah, that'd be insane.
People fucking hate him.
No, they don't. Well, I think there's a mix too in Atlanta in which like Bijan Robinson has a big play and he scores yesterday, and people are like, "Oh, would you look at that? It's crazy, our top 10 running back that we drafted."
Yeah.
So there's that element of not utilizing players. Kyle Pitts, it's been in a desert this entire time. There's Arthur Smith, but then there's also Desmond Ridder. And it's like, all right, we're going Taylor Heineke. All right, we're going to Desmond Ridder. It's just there hasn't been consistency. And I think you have a scenario where both the head coach and the QB situation was all wrong. And you might have the same one in Chicago as well. But here, it's just like the potential was so frustrating to watch just be wasted week after week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The decision by Jameis and the team to do it is hilarious. But
not yet.
It's one of the funniest ways for a game to end, though. A meaningless game, too.
It's hysterical.
Ultimately, it was just meaningless. Neither team's going into the postseason.
And it's just like, you know what? F you guys. Like, we hate you.
It's funny.
It was a team. It's the way that Jameis says it in that post. He was just like, it was a team decision.
Yeah.
Had an opportunity. We took it.
It's funny, too, that the Falcons lose another game by not kneeling. Another not kneeling situation. Because Adam did that video of the Falcons who just kneeled.
They just knelt it.
Kneeling gets them again.
Hey, let's go.
There you go.
So, yeah, Arthur Smith is fired. Be very curious to see who they wind up getting, because that is going to be...
I hit the wrong button there. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Because that's going to be really interesting. But then there's also... No, they're not going to make him MVP. But listen, Coach of the Year, and like at least those conversations can happen, I think, with Jordan Love and with LaFleur. But the other one, of course, Ron Rivera, and there was no surprise there. Because Arthur Smith, it was a little bit of a surprise because there was still like those rumblings, like maybe he will, maybe he won't be fired. But it happened at like 12:01
Yeah, it was
a.m.
that they waited 1 minute.
Yeah, and then they're like, gone. Goodbye. It's officially Monday on the East Coast. Get on out of here. So there's that. But Ron Rivera gets fired, and there's already news coming out that they are requesting interviews. Ben Johnson is one of the guys that Washington wants to interview. But they also are looking at Aaron Glenn, which I think Lions fans would be like, there you go.
Yeah, but like as a head coach, that might be his jam. Wasn't he voted as like one of the most liked coordinators in that thing by players?
Yeah, probably is. I just think if the Lions had to give up somebody, it's going to be Aaron Glenn 80 million times out of 10.
Over Ben. Sure, of course.
Could be.
But I mean, Ben Johnson or Belichick for the Commanders, or I don't know. I don't know all the candidates yet. Usually there's like so many guys fired
off-season.
You're like, oh, this guy here makes a lot of sense. Right now, it's like, is Dan Quinn? Like, Mike McCarthy might be coaching for his job, right? As well. And his team is 12-5 and in the 2 seed. But if he gets bounced in the first round, might be Dan Quinn's team next year. But if Dan Quinn is available and he's stuck with the Cowboys, I think under the assumption that might turn into his job.
To his job, yeah.
Also one of the most liked coordinators out there, Dan Quinn. Josh McDaniels, nobody interested in him. Brandon Staley can't be. I don't think he'll be considered
might be a coordinator somewhere.
Jobs, a coordinator. I think Ron Rivera, if he wants to hang around football, because I think he has value, just not as a head coach. Like I forgot John Fox is like a coaching assistant on the Lions.
I could see like
if Rivera takes that role somewhere, like to me, that's a valuable guy to have around. Wants to be around the game, has a ton of experience, but maybe if Rivera wants to do that, like be value somewhere in that kind of role. And I kind of like that for older guys versus, another head coaching job. You're like, why?
Yeah. Falcons, they need. I mean, listen, they got to go get like an actual good coach that's probably proven, and they need a quarterback. Like that is going to solve a significant amount of their issues already. Like if they go get a QB, that's already going to make whoever the head coach is look better.
Would they be in the Belichick sweepstakes if he goes? We're just waiting to see what happens there.
Dude, well, that's what I'm waiting on like pins and needles for, because I was like, man, like that's the news.
Yeah.
It's like, is Belichick, are they moving on from Belichick? Like, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, but that one, because at this point, you look at Dennis Allen, right? He could be another candidate potentially losing his job.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, we thought about it, but like Saints won,
We'll see if he sticks around. I mean, because they
There's
need a
a
quarterback
chance.
too. Like they do.
Maybe like Derek Carr's playing well the last couple weeks, whatever. That's the Derek Carr. Just barely missed the playoffs. Looks good late. Ready to rock with them next year. Going to be running into the same car trouble.
Mm-hmm. That lights, check engine light's going to be coming on. But so is there any other coaches that are like on the hot seat that could go? Because like Tomlin, I think making it in the playoffs, they're not going to go. It's Belichick, Dennis Allen, maybe.
It's so weird to say Belichick too. It just doesn't sound right.
Weird. It is very
Vrabel, I
weird.
guess, could be a dark horse
Could be.
release. Yeah, not many.
Mm-hmm. Because people have already been fired. I mean, right? So like Rivera, got Smith, and then we already had like 3 coaches fired midseason.
All the obvious ones are already gone, except for but Reich wasn't obvious.
Yeah. Panthers fans were not happy. They were not happy. But
I'm not saying Reich was the guy, but like I didn't see the Panthers doing that.
Let's go. Real quick, before we
Ooh.
skedaddle.
Nice. 9 legs.
That's pretty crazy. Which head coaching job out of all of them would be the most attractive? And we'll talk about this a lot during the offseason and stuff like that. Let's just say like the Patriots move on from Belichick. Yeah. Let's say even the Saints move on from Dennis Allen. So you got like the Chargers. Well, we know the Panthers is down low. Sorry, Panthers.
Yeah, I already got
Panthers,
the answer.
Chargers, Falcons, Washington, potentially Patriots, potentially Saints.
Yeah. I think in terms of ownership, it's the Patriots. Like if I'm a coach, I want to go coach under Robert Kraft.
That's fair.
I think he's one of the best owners in the league. Like in basically everything he does. And it's taken me a long time to admit that. What you can do to improve your team, Washington. Sitting at number 2 with 2 very good quarterbacks. Personnel-wise, already on the roster, the Falcons. Like, you need a quarterback, yes.
Potential there. A lot of potential.
Fudge, you got 2 great running backs. You got Pitts, and then Jonnu Smith behind him. I don't even know the contract there, but he's good. You got Pitts. You got Drake London. Like, there's just a fun roster there. So if you're an offensive coach, like Ben Johnson with the Falcons, and he gets a quarterback
all day.
Don't give me Belichick down there. Give me Ben Johnson in hot Atlanta.
And of course he had to call him Hot Atlanta. Of course he did. That is true. Yes, I agree.
Dan Quinn back to Atlanta.
Oh my God. But the potential is insane. Like you have playmakers, like actually utilize them.
Yeah.
It would be so crazy, probably. Yes. But
and nobody's like, okay, the Falcons pick at 8, right?
They could move up.
They could move up, or they could take Michael Penix or Bo Nix.
Let's go, Alex.
Hell yeah, wear that diaper.
Wear that diaper.
Wear that diaper down in Atlanta. Woo!
Dude, if you're Ben Johnson, that's probably the team I'm looking at. And now the Commanders.
Notice I didn't say Chargers either.
No, well, because again, they have the quarterback, but a lot of cap problems. Also, some older players, right?
It's just you're cursed. You're the Chargers.
Not a bust yet.
No, you give him one more year.
But they hired what's his face, Bob Myers, who was the 2-time NBA Executive of the Year. but they haven't.
right.
Yeah, they haven't like said his role yet.
Yeah, it's like to help the hiring process thing, evaluate
Maybe.
whatever.
Maybe. I don't think we need him right this second though.
Mm.
Yeah, dude. If
Kevin, if you didn't give me these sweet ass shoes, I would slap you through the TV screen here.
you stop
computer
threatening the
screen.
audience again, Brandon.
Oh, I'll threaten Kevin.
Yeah, I know you'll threaten Kevin, but Kevin's very nice. So no. Don't
Oh,
do
he's
that.
nice,
Kevin's
and he's
very nice.
huge, and he's strong. But I will threaten him.
You'll see him in person and be like, I am so sorry. I've never
I've met
him.
Kevin in person. Actually,
I know you have. That's why I'm saying.
And I still
Ooh,
think
Jane
I can
Daniels.
kick his ass.
Mm.
Suck it, Kevin.
Perna, what do you got coming out? I know it was Jamal Williams' first TD of the season. Exactly.
There you
And I
go,
love Jamal
Jamal.
Williams. That's why I'm always like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. J Swag Daddy, come on now.
Yeah.
Oh no, they hate with a capital H each other. So that's why I'm not surprised.
Yeah, now it's like, yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Ben Johnson with Fields, and just try a see what you got. Don't trade much for him because Fields, what are they going to offer for him right now? A third, maybe
Second or third was like the rumor. I'm like, damn, I would take Fields for that.
Mm.
Dude, Fields in that offense with Ben Johnson. Winners and losers coming out today. What do you got, Tom?
Hey,
I know you were cooking last night, yesterday.
oh, I was cooking. Dude, I literally got upstairs and was like, all right, let's get ready for bed. I got a long day tomorrow. And then the Falcons news hit and Johnny Barks, I was looking at it and I was like, I haven't rinsed out my hair yet. So I guess I could. And then Johnny texts me. He's just like, Arthur Smith just got fired. Reaction tomorrow? I was like, nah, reaction tonight. And so did that. But yeah, I just recorded every fans before this show. So every NFL fan reaction week 18 will be dropping within the hour. And then if the NFL was scripted, week 18, we gonna rock with that. It's gonna be a grand old time. If you're firing him, get rid of Fields too. Start over. Start over. Let the head coach pick who he wants to pick, and have a nice day. They do need to do that. They do. But folks, and I caught up.
There you go. Bam.
Let's go, Jordan Love, baby. Let's get it. Let's get it. Whew. We appreciate the hell out of you. We had nearly 10,000 people in here. Appreciate the heck out of you. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. We'll be back on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Do the Broncos want Fields?
I don't think Sean Payton does, but don't know. To me, Fields is like a young Russell Wilson,
I got you. I got you.
If I have him, no, because we could have had him 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Penix, baby.
Penix all the way. But folks, thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. This is GPS. We love you. And you have been navigated.
And you've reached your destination, which for Packers fans is the playoffs. Congratulations, Green Bay.